The conventional way of doing banking, going to the bank, signing a lot of paperwork, is that still feasible today? We're gonna find out. Welcome everyone to another episode of 5 at FinTech Hive here at the Space Pod. Welcome, Mr. Astyanax Kanakakis. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good. Excellent. Thank you so much. Can you please introduce what is Norbloc and how did it start?
So what do we do at Norbloc? I wish I actually had an easy answer to this. So, when I'm asked in parties, it would go like this. But it takes a bit more than a couple of seconds. So essentially what we do in Norbloc is we create regulated data networks. And regulated data is any data with legal significance. So essentially we allow people to transport their data from one institution to the other without having to give it to each institution separately. That's what we do. And the key focus that we have right now is on know your customer data, KYC data. And we create networks between banks, between government entities that allow their customers to essentially transfer data from one institution to the other and ensure, for the institution's sake, that there's one version of truth across institutions.
And how did the idea start? Why?
How did the idea start? I wish I could tell you that it was my idea. It was not my idea. It was my own idea.
Okay.
So essentially how this happened is that back in end of 2015, beginning of 16, myself and two more individuals who are the co-founders of Norbloc, very talented people. What we did is that we started working with blockchain technology. At the time, we were working with one of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the world. And we were thinking, how can we employ blockchain technology outside cryptocurrencies? So what we did is that we went to banks and we had the following proposition. I'm going to give you an intro into blockchain and crypto, and then you're going to tell me where the technology could be relevant outside crypto. And just think about, the problems that you're facing as a bank. So we did this with banks, and we did this actually with 6 leading banks in Europe. And we did, because I come from consulting, we did this exercise with a matrix where you would have the impact and feasibility, and then you would put all the different areas that they thought they would use blockchain technology to solve a problem. And KYC kept coming up as very impactful, very easy in feasibility. And at that point I was thinking, okay, KYC, is it really so painful? And this is when we started digging through the literature on KYC and the process, and it is a very, very painful process for everyone, for customers, for banks, for regulators. So this is how we came up with the idea. And back then, this was actually very hard to do in terms of focusing on doing one thing, because if you remember back then, it was blockchain technology can do everything. You can put a blockchain into a toaster and it's a better toaster. But it didn't really work like this. So we had to focus, and we took the decision to focus on KYC and regulated data.
So you removed the most frustrating part from the conventional way of banking and put it on the blockchain, which hopefully will solve a lot of problems in the future and a lot of frustration of the people. Moving on to the next question, you started in Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden, and you opened correct me if I'm wrong, you opened your development hub in Athens, Greece.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And now your commercial hub is going to be based in Dubai.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So my question is, why Dubai? What are the opportunities that are available here which you can find nowhere in the world?
Mm-hmm. So it's actually Dubai and the UAE. It's a region that is very forward-looking, and it's not afraid to leapfrog technologically. If you look at the banks, we worked with many banks in Europe, and they were not the first ones to take up our technology purely because it was something so novel to them. They were thinking, okay, this clearly works, this clearly creates a lot of value for us, but we don't want to be the first ones to implement it. We want to be the fastest follower. And here, Dubai does not want to be the fastest follower, wants to be the fastest pioneer. So I think it's that difference that makes what we do much easier to implement here, and hence the decision to actually have a commercial hub here in Dubai.
What are the main achievements that Norbloc was able to achieve and was able to do?
If you think about decentralization, how our network works here with institutions and banks and licensing authorities is essentially that not one of these institutions can actually enforce a method of operating or take data from any other of the participants. It's a distributed ecosystem that essentially allows any of the participants to transact with any other participant in the ecosystem. And that is an extremely powerful concept. Extremely powerful concept because it allows the freedom to operate in the way that you would like to operate within an ecosystem. It allows also for the creation of subsets of participants within an ecosystem. But at the same time, it allows for much higher redundancy. You don't have a single point of failure. You don't have a single point of actually enforcing rules, regulations that otherwise could be enforced in unison by all the ecosystem participants. So this is what we've achieved here. One thing I should mention though, because we talk about decentralization quite a lot, technological decentralization is feasible. Mm-hmm. Legal decentralization and operational decentralization is quite challenging. So if there's actually the one thing that we've learned is technologically we've solved a lot of problems, but for the legal world to follow what we do and employ new agreements, real world agreements between parties to operate in such a decentralized world, that is actually quite a challenge. And I think this is where the legal world really has to catch up with technological developments.
I love how you mentioned it's challenging and not impossible. Because when it comes to the legal side, a lot of criticism that the decentralized world is facing is from the legal side and the regulation side and everything that has to do with the legalities. But I love how you put the word challenge, that it's not impossible. And I can't wait for what the future holds to this new technology, especially when it comes to the legal side. My next question will be basically, with this new technology, you were able to achieve all of everything that you have told me right now. What is the limit to it? Or what are your future goals?
The nice problem to have in what we do is that there is no limit. And I'm saying it's a nice problem. It's nice because it lets you dream and aspire to do so many things with technology that we have in our hands. At the same time, it's a problem because you have to focus. Exactly. We are not 20,000 people in the company. We have to focus and be laser focused, deliver on something, and then move from implementations away and grow what we have. So essentially what we're looking now is implementing what we've implemented here in the UAE. We have 2 more countries that are close to starting implementation, one in Europe and also in Latin America, but also expanding outside KYC data to other data, which could involve anything from financial behavior of companies to any licenses that someone should actually want to carry on a distributed ecosystem.
My final question will be, to everyone who dreams of starting a startup, what is an advice that you would give them?
Don't go into Web3 for Web3. Go there to solve a problem, an actual problem. And I said actual, not current, because they're going to be future problems. To give an example, we work with identity. In Web3, identity will not be identity only of people, it's going to be identity also of machines. It's going to be multiple identities actually of people. So how do you actually merge these identities? These are actual problems, not current problems. But I would actually suggest that anyone who wants to go to Web3, or actually, for that matter, start a company, please solve an actual problem. Do research, a lot of research before you start building something. I know there's a lot of excitement when you think of something and your friends tell you what a great idea, and there's an echo chamber and everyone says, yes, let's high five each other and just drink loads of coffee and implement this. Just take a step back, take a step back from the coffee machine, relax a bit and really think if you're solving an actual problem. That's my key advice.
It's so true, especially in my generation and the Gen Z generation, once the second that the conversation of Web3 comes up or blockchain, everyone gets so excited. And it's so true, the coffee table and everyone gets their coffee and hey, come on, let's get these ideas, let's do something. And they forget about solving a problem. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, of course, thank you.